Hi everyone, my name is martinyb and I am the owner and founder of Today I Want to Be. We are solving the problem of kids and youth not seeing someone who looks just like them in a variety of career fields. We are a career exploration resource for parents and educators, and through our interactive products and virtual interviews, kids and youth are able to see representation of their race and gender in career fields that they may not even know about. With every product we create, from our educational aids to our apparel and accessories, we are intentional about encouraging and helping kids and youth see that they can become anything they want to be. We are the only company who not only focuses on career exploration for kids and youth, but we also give them an opportunity to ask professionals about their careers every month during our free live virtual interviews as student co-hosts. If you are looking for a company that is dedicated to helping your child or student see that they can become anything they want to be, make sure you visit todayiwanttobe.com today. Calling all authors and publishers. Did you know Everything Authors has a free downloadable directory of platforms you can promote your book on? No longer will you have to search multiple places to market your book because you can find them here. Download your list today at everythingauthors.com/free-resources. That's everythingauthors.com/free-resources.
can be a social
I
worker.
can be a social worker.
Yes, a social worker.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. I am your host, Martinique Brown. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune into the show today. I'm really excited about our guest author today, Dr. Velma Bagby. She has written a great book called The Wrong Catch. She'll tear down the house. I'm telling you, that's a bad woman if she can tear down the house like that.
Yeah.
But this is actually the third book of her Wrong Catch series. So I'm really excited that she's on the show today to let us learn a lot more about her book. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, I'm telling you, that sounds like a great book. You see right there below, you see the picture of her book, not only on her backdrop, but down below. That is actually where you can purchase her book on Amazon.com, or you can actually purchase it from Linktree. And all of that information is right there next to the $ in that description box. So now, if this is your first time ever tuning into the show, thank you so much. Go ahead and share this book now, share this live stream now, so that a lot more people will know a lot more about Dr. Velma and her books, as well as all of the things that she does, because we'll definitely get into that as well. Another great thing is, if you feel that you want to follow Dr. Velma, make sure you follow her on her website or Linktree. Again, all that information is listed in the description box. Now, we like to keep this show interactive, so you can actually post your questions and your comments in the comment field. And when you post those questions or comments, then you got Dr. Velma right here. I can just ask her. And so if you're tuning in from any other page other than Martinique Y. Brown or Dr. Velma's page, or Everything Authors YouTube channel, I need you to come on over to one of those pages so I can make sure that I can actually see your questions and comments. But go ahead and give us a virtual shout out. Let us know that you are in the house. Dr. Velma, thank you again so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Martinita. I'm glad to be here.
You are welcome. So now, can you go ahead and tell our viewers just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Yeah, I actually got into the game quite late after retirement. I retired in 2012 after working 38 years in state government. I was a deputy administrator, and it was my daughters who encouraged me to write my first book, and I thought that was going to be it. It was based on our personal conversations about dating and marriage and men, and so I
Mhm.
published it in 2018 as a Christian. As a nonfiction, Christian nonfiction. It wasn't until after that that I realized through their prompting and encouragement, many of their friends were asking more questions about some of the conversations we had. And from there, here I am today. Book 16 was released in December.
Boom. So, two questions. First question is, what is the name of that nonfiction book that you first wrote?
The very first one was called Your Adam is Asleep Until God Opens His Eyes. Their questions, their
You
question
are
was,
giving it
why
to him already,
why
Dr.
are
Bill.
men so slow? And that was the answer. He's asleep until
He's
God
sleep.
opens his eyes.
He's not slow, ladies. He just
Mm-mm.
sleep
Yeah.
like Sleeping Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait for somebody to kiss
Till
him
it's time.
till it's time. So now, can our viewers find that book on Linktree also?
Yeah. All of my books. Yes.
Excellent. I'm telling you, y'all, we don't try to make this complicated. If you are interested in purchasing it, go ahead and purchase it. Go to that link next to that dollar sign in the description box. So my second question is, now you said that you started writing after retirement. If
Yes.
somebody says to themselves, I can't, what do I have to tell? Why would I start writing after I'm done, working? What would you say to that person?
I say to that person that you're the perfect Titus 2 woman, if that's a woman,
Hmm.
to share your wisdom, your expertise, and what you see in your foresight, because that's what's missing. That's the element that's really missing in conversations around this topic and many others. We don't pour out to others who need to have that kind of information. And that was what was important to me. I wanted to, once I realized what God wanted me to do, um, he said, I didn't bless you with 49 years in marriage, not to share with others how you were
That's
able
good.
to do all of that. So I had to make sure that I share and you have to do the same thing because you have a voice and somebody needs to hear what you have to say.
So, in any of the Wrong Catch series, would we get a taste of your marriage? Like what has made it work, what made it successful, like
Hmm.
the maybe the ups and downs of marriage? Would we get any of that from the watch series?
That's really the foundation of all of it. It's the things that you need to know before you actually walk down the aisle. It's the things you need to know before you even meet him because the strategies change. We're not in high school anymore. So we practice this high school dating
Hmm.
and it's not working. We have
Hmm.
to change the strategy and date with intent, date with a purpose and goal. Just like everything we do when we set our minds on a particular goal, we go after preparing ourselves for that goal, getting ourselves in a position so we can meet that. It's the same with marriage, except we're not using those strategies like you would use in business. We're
Hmm.
not using them. And that's what we were taught many years ago, and we're just not sharing and teaching it anymore.
So now somebody may say, first of all, let me give a shout out to Miss Queenie Clem.
Hey,
She says,
Queenie.
hey, hey. And I also Jacqueline Cox. And I see we have many or more viewers, but let me tell Dr. Vilma, tell them we won't bite. It's okay if you tell us
No,
hello.
it's okay. Come on in. It's
It's
a free service for how long? A half an hour? Hour?
Yeah, but we usually go longer because
I
I just
know.
be enjoying this. But give us a virtual shout out. Let us know that you are in the house. Um, oh, Miss Queenie says she is so proud of you. Um,
Oh,
but let
that's
me
my.
ask you this. Oh, what was you about to say?
I was just gonna say two of my dearest friends, Mrs. Cox and Miss Queenie Clem.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Hmm.
Thank you guys for showing support. I think sometimes people think that, well, I can't purchase something for right now, but you can still show support by sharing this video, letting
Of
other
course.
people know about Dr. Velma's book as well. So now sometimes, we'll hear the thing, she's been married for 49 years. What does she know about being single? Or like how in the world would she be able to relate to how what single people are dealing with? Because I don't know if you've heard this, Dr. Velma,
I
but
have.
I've heard that piss is in the water of this of
I've
this
heard of
single pool.
I've heard a lot of that. And again, that's the whole idea. We've gotten away from what were biblical principles that helped us in this process, and we thought it didn't apply. Just like the daughter in the very first book, her father, Pastor Grayson, was the one that taught the singles ministry, and she turned her back on it, thought she
Mhm.
could do it better and do it faster. She had her education, she was ready to get married, got her job. She set a goal to be
Mhm.
married by 30, and she's now 32. It's the same principle. I've
Mhm.
had my conversations with my own adult daughters. Um, Same thing when we produced that first book was based on our conversations, but it's because we assume that things are different. They are not. It's the same.
Mhm.
Sin has changed its name, but the game is still the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, since you went into that first book, can you just give our viewers a taste of the first two books of the Wrong Catch series? Just give us a little snippet of what
Of
those first
course.
two books are about.
The first book was about Pastor Grayson trying to figure out a way to get his daughter out of dating the wrong men. She was moving through men so quickly because she had passed her goal to get married by 30. She's 32 now. So he prayed,
Mhm.
God, show me what to do. I just need to intervene with my daughter. And God's
Mhm.
answer was use what you know. What he knew was he was an expert at fishing. So he decided to invite his daughter on a fishing trip, something they used to do when she was younger. He created these metaphorical stories, so he used fish as the characters. So the catfish who loves garbage, the
Mhm.
sturgeon who likes to nibble. Everybody has met these guys before. The salmon who makes it clear he's not committing to anyone or anybody, no matter what you do for him, he's not. And then there was the pufferfish who is described as handsome until you agitate him. He puffs up 3 times his size. So that in lies the story. I thought I was
Mhm.
writing one book and the readers asked for more. So this is why we have a series today. So I know that it was needed. Book two, Pastor Grayson got all these inquiries from other women who've heard his daughter's story. And since she was successful at paying attention and listening to what he was telling her to do, they wanted to know some of the same tips and tools too. So he decides to host a conference, and that's the second book, a
Mm.
women's conference where he invites women who describe some of the challenges they had in dating, sharing with the other women, and then that in lies the stories and how the women were taught what they needed to do. In addition to the fish stories he used, he brings back more fish. These are trophy fish, multi-million dollar uh, tournaments. These fish are the ones, the elite of the elitists. But he
Mhm.
asked the women, if he's a trophy and God calls you to be the prize, then where do you fit in that man's
Mhm.
life? Same
Mhm.
thing on land. It's the same thing. So like I said, sin, the game is still the same. Sin just changed its name. It's
Mhm.
all the same. Don't get it mixed up or
Mhm.
twisted, as some people say. It's the
Mhm.
same. So the fact that I've been married this long and I'm not in the singles game, I can tell you how to get out of it, how
Yeah.
you need to get out, how to be discovered by a man, what you're doing wrong, because your heart will tell him everything he needs to know about you, all of
Mhm.
it, and why your strategy needs to change. Anybody that's been in a relationship 5 and 10 years, I just heard of a story. Someone was in a relationship 10 years, thought they were moving towards married, and the dude had been dating someone else 2 years prior to dumping her. So I'm just saying that it's important for us to know. In the first book, Grayson talks a lot about red flags.
Mhm.
This book, Red Flags, what you need to look for, and why do we today ignore them? That's the
Mhm.
problem. We see them, but we ignore them. And
Mhm.
so it's just bringing back those biblical principles, but weaving it in the way that Jesus weaved the parables. He never hit people on the head with the scripture. He always told a story, gave them something to focus on that was familiar, weaved into the story a way to change or a way of escape or the way, a redemption plan. And then after he
Mhm.
was done with the story, he just left it up to the person. So that's how my
Mhm.
stories are weaved. And it really resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. So now, what's the name of the first book? That's actually the black book
Yes,
that's
the
behind it.
the
What's
black book, the catch, no one wants. because
The
it
catching
talks
the
about the
woman.
daughter missing out on the guy that was perfect for her, but
Okay.
she was so busy chasing after what she thought was for her.
Okay. And then
And
the second book is the purple book,
the wrong catch.
the wrong
And that's
catch.
the
Okay.
talks about the four fish characters that are trophy fish and
Gotcha.
why you need to avoid them at all costs. So basically, these are narcissistic men.
So, let me ask you this. What do you think about people that maybe God has called them to singleness, but they're not content or they have not accepted that calling over their life?
Who called them and who confirmed it? If
Okay.
if you're talking about being called to singleness, when the very first chapter of the Bible talks about relationships and it was ordained by God, what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I believe, I hear these little excuses about there are more women than men. I believe that some women are just going to miss it. Period. That's why
Mm-hmm.
there's more women, because some women are going to miss it. It was
Mm-hmm.
always designed for man not to live alone. The woman was created. He said it's not good. It's just God said that, not Adam. Adam wasn't looking for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
God said it's not good. And so in that he decided to create something good for him. And that's she wasn't there in the beginning when he and God was hanging around in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
She was created sometime after he got his charge. And so it's important for us to understand that all throughout scripture, God is talking about relationships, our relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
our relationship with ourselves. We hear self care. We can call it, put whatever name we want to on it. But God had talked about it early on to love Him, love yourself, and then love others. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's important for us to understand that. We just miss all of that. And that's the problem that so many are having now. I'm just going to say, some are not going to discover Him because some are going to be some of the women in this book, and they are not husband material.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So now we've talked about the first two books, and
Hmm.
shout out to Kimberly. She said, "Wow, I need." I think she's talking about you though, Doctor Doctor Velma. She said, "I need you, Doctor Velma, on my television show." She said, "Martinique, please give her my contact information."
Oh, that's so sweet.
I definitely will, Kimberly. Shout out to Kimberly.
That's so
Kimberly,
sweet.
make sure you go ahead and share this video now. So Dr. Velma, can you walk us through your book, The Wrong Catch? She'll Tear Down the House. Now, this is
Okay.
actually the blue book
Yep.
that you see below, you all. Um,
Woohoo.
Again, make sure you go to that description box and then you can actually click on that Amazon link, or you can click on that Linktree link and you can actually read the book summary as well. So, walk us through the book, please.
Here's where you're going to go. So I mentioned Pastor Grayson, the main character in the first book, along with his daughter Veronica.
Mhm.
Well, second book, Pastor Grayson hosts the women's conference. Well, the men approached him and said, "Well, what about us? When are you going to talk about the wrong women?" Even my own husband, who's a pastor, said, "You really need to talk about the wrong women today." He said, "When are you going to?" I said, "Well, I guess I better take a pause." I said, "But many of my readers said, you could take a pause, but please bring the fish characters back." So I could not use fish characters. So
Mm,
I got a chance to interview some godly men. Tell me about the challenges you had while dating. And from what they describe, and look, I'm talking about women who claim to be in the church. These are not out there. God
mhm,
talks about a fool or a foolish woman in Proverbs 14 and 1. A wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one tears it down. That's the premise of this book. We're talking
I
about the
see.
foolish one. So if you fall into the category of any of these characters, you really need to pay attention because
Mhm,
these are not the patterns you want to follow. So we take, instead of fish, I have insects such as a firefly. I
mhm,
have the queen bee. I have the black widow spider. We have narc women because we assume that narcissism is only among the men. No, some women are narcissists too. We're talking about the
mhm,
foolish women. And so we have four of them, including a mother who's a narc mother controlling her son. And then the
mm,
last one is so we have the antelope, the hyena. People assume that the hyena is laughing. No, it's the female that leads the clan and she's barking orders. So imagine her in your house. And then
mhm,
there's the people pleaser, assuming that she's sweet and honest. But again, one of those narcissistic women. And then the last one is the church doll. So I'm not going to tell you any details about her. You just have to discover, get the tea. To get the tea for that, you'll have to just read the book.
Now, Miss Queenie actually pointed something really good out, you all. The
Okay.
Kindle edition is actually 99 cents
Mm-hmm.
each. So you can't beat that. I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you, you can't even get a cheeseburger from McDonald's anymore for
No,
99 cents.
no.
So go ahead and go to that Amazon.com so you can look at that book summary as well. Myra Cook, thank you so much for tuning in,
Hey,
Myra.
Myra.
She said a very good book. Myra, don't forget to share this video now. So now tell us about Grayson. Who is he
Mm-hmm.
from the book? You told us that he is a pastor,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about him.
Pastor Grayson is really kind of a product of my husband's personality. He is the
Mm,
father who showed grace to his daughter when he saw her making big mistakes. He showed grace throughout that time. He didn't try to hit her over the head with, you know better than this. I'm a pastor. You're embarrassing me. No, he just showed grace. Look, my daughter needs my help. She needs
yeah.
my love right now. Let me guide her back to where she needs to go. And that's exactly what happened on this trip. Every one of those fish characters were characters she tried to date, and he
Mm-hmm.
described them and showed her how she actually escaped a lot of trouble and danger doing what she was doing. And at the end of that trip, he provided her with all the tools he felt she needed to make good decisions for herself while waiting, working on herself. And that was the whole idea of all of this. We're so
Mm-hmm.
busy blaming everybody when you really need to turn that finger back on yourself, because if you are attracting the same mistakes over and over, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. And that's why I talk about decluttering your heart, letting go of past hurts and experiences. This current dating process we practice, which I call high school dating, it
Mm-hmm.
leaves you hurt. There's no commitment in it.
Yeah.
But changing the strategy to do what God has told us to do, dating with a purpose. Your only purpose in dating should be discover who He is. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all. So your questions should change. You
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be spending months and years with somebody and you haven't asked the right questions to determine if he is possibly the one for you. And that's where we make a mistake. Even in business, if I'm going to join another business in a business arrangement, I'm going to research and make sure that that business is who they say they are, that their reputation is what they say it is. All of that, we don't. We get stuck on conditions, what I call conditions versus characteristics of the man. You look at what's on the outside, which is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what men had the problem of all along. They've always looked at the outside. So in this conference that Grayson hosts for the men, he teaches them how to stop looking on the outside, because all these speakers that come in to talk to the men tell about the dangers and the hurtful things they experience by not paying attention to who she really is in her heart.
Mm-hmm. So now is Grayson married?
Grayson is married. His wife actually comes in to speak it towards the end of the conference. Yes. And
Okay.
in
Okay.
book one, you'll discover how he and his wife met, because he tells his daughter the story of the goldfish and never tells
Mm,
her the goldfish name, not revealing until the end of the story that he was the goldfish, and how her mother almost missed out on him for the same reason many others. They have this idea of a list, and that list is so off track
yeah.
that you'll never meet anybody. And then they have a list they can't even meet. They
Mm-hmm.
expect the guy to have these qualities and they can't meet the qualities. So make sure you
Mm-hmm.
meet the qualities on your list.
Definitely. So now I know that you actually talked to us about the questions that we should ask. And when I say we, I said we because I didn't want to say, just males or females should
Yeah.
ask. But
hmm
in any of your books, do you list any of these questions we should be asking?
Yeah, in the first book, we covered some of those questions at the end for discussion questions. I
Okay.
had a workbook that I had out that I pulled out because I'm going to expand upon it, because of the fact that this is Christian contemporary fiction. I
Mm-hmm.
said people are going to want to know where these scriptures are, what it says, because I talk about in the book the over 50 scriptures that describe a fool. And now that should be your guiding principles right now. That what God
Mm-hmm.
says about what a fool looks like, sounds
Mm-hmm.
like, acts like. That'll be a big red flag and a clue
Yeah.
for you. And so all of that is coming into one workbook that's going to be released shortly. So that should be coming soon.
So now you all, Dr. Velma just said that that workbook should be released shortly. Make sure
Hmm.
you go to that description box and follow her on her website or Linktree so you can just definitely stay in the loop of when she does release that workbook. So I see that you did replace the fishes with the animals,
Hmm.
and gave us a better description of it. Where do you get this um where do you get your material from? Is it all coming from like your husband, or do you actually have to talk to different guys and the type of women they're meeting and things like that?
Well, the character, the personality of Pastor Grayson, I got from my husband, the way
Right,
he
right.
interacts with his own daughters, that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
in the first book, I wanted to use fish, so I talked to a fishing expert, my oldest brother. I said,
Hmm.
"Tell me about the fish you like to catch." As he began to describe their personality, the bait that he had to use, the type of fishing line, where in the water he has to fish, where they hang out, I immediately knew which character was going to be which character. I knew what the
Hmm.
catfish was going to be. Hanging out
Hmm.
at the bar, in the mud, looking for dirt. He loves smelly things. So the bait he loves is something smelly. That's a woman's heart that's unsure of herself, who doesn't know who
Hmm.
she is, doesn't know her self worth. So that smells good to him. So all of those came automatically. Then when because the readers wanted me to keep the fish analogies for the men, I had to change for the women. And the
Yeah.
insects were easy. All I had to do was just research them to see what were they like, what were
Hmm.
their personalities, what were the animals and insects that where the female was really kind of the dominant
Hmm.
in the group, and that's how I got it. Because even in what we're talking about, a foolish woman is that type of woman. A foolish woman doesn't care about anybody but herself. So it's
Hmm.
important that I was able to match those insects with some of these characters, and it was very easy for me just doing the research.
Hmm. I kind of feel that um well, first let me ask this question. Do you feel like The Wrong Catch, She'll Tear Down the House, your third book, do
Hmm.
you think that it will help female readers? If so,
Yes.
how?
One of the characters I shared in the book, some of the things that the men told me. And in the book, I refer to it as a survey, but these are actually things men told me about their challenges. And one person in particular said, "Please talk about the microwave woman." And that hit me over the forehead. I'm going, "Microwave woman." And as he
Hmm.
went into more detail, and then he explained, women think that they don't have to cook. They don't need to know how. That's the biggest fallacy I've ever
Oh.
heard. And so he referred to the microwave woman who thinks that everything she cooks for her husband or for her family goes into the microwave. So I didn't know men had a title for her. So I
Hmm.
put that microwave woman in there. And one of my wonderful readers is who's currently married immediately said, "I will never let that other woman cook for my husband. Let me get up and make sure his
Yeah.
meal is ready."
Hmm.
It's an act of love. It's an act of love. It has nothing to do with anything. And that's the other problem. We don't understand what real love is. That's why we're
Hmm.
afraid of titles like submission or head of the house or my husband who leads, the priest of my home. That's why they're afraid of those kind of titles, because you don't know what real love is.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's the problem.
So, and what I was about to say before I asked that question, I feel that if a woman is really wants to change, I believe that they need to pray first before they read the book. Just so, because I know that I'm very stubborn. And so like I would have to pray and ask God, like just change my heart, like do a gradual change, if and then help me to see if I am any of these characters, or any of these insects or animals, in this book. But I feel like there has to be a humbleness when it comes to it,
Yeah.
um, as well, but I think that I'm okay, Dr. Velma, I'm not a microwave woman. I don't enjoy cooking, but I don't mind warming up in the microwave. but I don't, like I said, I don't enjoy cooking. So I'm definitely on that boat of I can love him a different way. I'm
Well,
sorry.
so can Mabel over the fence. She'll love him very well and bring those meals over the fence.
Well, tell Mabel to bring me a plate too, because we all gonna eat.
That's a conversation you should have with your husband.
Yeah, yeah,
Y'all can negotiate that together.
yeah. But I'm always surprised at how important cooking is to a guy.
It is. It's a loving
Why? Why do
gesture.
you think that?
Wait, I'm going back to the idea of love. The
Okay.
idea of love is doing something for your husband just like he pours out love, because if you haven't had a love poured into you, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what that is yet. I'm talking about real love. I'm not talking about this fantasy love we have in the world right now. But a loving response will make you get up and find some recipes that you can handle to
Yeah.
fix, especially for him, because you so love what he's loving about you. You can't help but love him back. And so,
Mm-hmm.
therefore, you want to do everything you can to make sure he receives what you can offer him. It's a loving gesture. It's nothing. It's not about gender roles or, he need to learn. Girl, when I get up and my husband in the kitchen's mopping and cleaning and putting the dishes in and wiping down the cabinets, he said, "Well, I knew your back was hurting, so I just get over all of this and
Yeah.
make sure you receive love the way it should be given and the way it should be received." Because
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said earlier, that's why people struggle with those kind of things, because they haven't felt love yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now Myra is really trying to push you to this, Dr. Velma.
What?
She said, talk about the church doll. I mean, I hey that I know you wanted to like move past it, but
I
I'm just
did. I flipped
let's
over
see
it.
if you can give the people what they want, Dr.
Let me read the description on the back, Miss Myra, without spilling all the tea, as
Okay.
my friend Angela would say. The church doll is, there's a toy that was referred to as the church doll years, maybe the 1800s, 1900s later, where kids had to be quiet and sit in church. That was before we had children's church. And so they would take the handkerchief of a man, put tissue in the center of it, tie something around it to make a head, put some eyes, that kind of thing. And that's the church doll that
Hmm.
the child would play with, which sits inside the pew until the next Sunday, so that it's not making noise, none of that. That was what it was called. But in the
Okay.
story, this is a woman that was groomed by the leader of the church to not only be his assistant, but to travel with him and to provide whatever he needed. And so she became that, not
Hmm.
thinking that she was serving God by serving him. And that's the church doll. Now, I'm not going to give you any more details than that to see
Just
how
let
her
our
life
mind just let
evolved.
our
But,
mind run wild.
well, and believe me, I saw one growing up.
Hmm.
So it's not far. And if you and Google the idea of abuse in the church, you'll see a lot of stories where women
Mm.
were abused in the church and misused in a way. And just like, any other sexual predator who grooms a
Yeah.
young girl, women in the church were groomed as well in some cases.
Mm. Mm. That's interesting. I have never heard that before. I've never heard it. Thank you, Myra, for that great uh
Shh,
that
Myra.
that great question or comment. Um, so Dr. Vilma, what type of reading groups would this book be beneficial to in their personal lives, you think?
Well, I think any group of single women or group of men who just want to delve and dive into some of the subject matter that we talk about, really get involved with the questions. I've got some products that's coming out of these books also, and I can't announce it yet, but they're coming, and they're going to be actually interactive games that you can use based on the discussions and the questions and all of that. That's
Mm,
coming soon, because I really think there needs to be more conversation around it. I mean, you hanging out with your friends and you guys want to do something different and lighten the load. There are some things you
yeah.
can do. There's some activities that will draw you into the books and the stories that you can do just in having conversations around it. So I think it's whether it's a ministry or just hanging out with your friends, it doesn't matter. A book
Hmm.
club group who wants to dive deeper into some of these characters, the
Yeah.
characters alone are worth exploring.
Yeah,
And so that's what you can do. But again, talking about some of the things that Grayson addresses in the book with both the men and the women, I think is something that's important to everybody to know.
definitely. And I think that these would like I hope that maybe, ministry single ministry leaders would also take advantage of these books, and because it really just helps you to um, really just put it in a modern perspective of
Yeah.
the different women and men that we do come across,
Yes.
and it's comical, but it's the truth. This is honestly
Yes.
like the type of people we are meeting,
Hmm.
um, and the sad part about it is a lot of these people do profess Christ. And so I'm telling you, when I was single, I was like, "You a Christian? Are you sure?" you know,
Imagine what the men said
yeah,
when you look at
yeah,
their list
yep, yeah,
that
that's
the woman
true.
wanted to do with them
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
professed to be a Christian.
yeah. So I think that these books are definitely helpful for Christians. But what do you think about the non-Christian? Would these books be beneficial for them as well? You think?
A lot of my readers, yes, fall into that category. That was the whole idea, whether somebody
Mm,
was familiar with scripture or not. I wanted to write the stories in a way. I gave one to a receptionist in the Black Book who had a person, a friend of hers in a toxic relationship, and the friend would not listen to the other friends trying to get her out. And she gave her a book.
mm.
She read that pufferfish story and she got out of that relationship because she saw
Wow.
herself in it. And so that was the whole goal of mine, to weave the stories in a way that it didn't say, I'm a Christian and you need to be one too. No,
Hmm.
whether you were familiar with scripture or not, these should reach you. These should speak to you in some way, or some form of fashion, because that's how they've been written.
Definitely. So now, if you're just now tuning in, where you been? Where have you been? That's okay. We're glad that you're here. But go ahead and share this book now. Share this live stream now. We're talking to Dr. Velma. She's talking to us a lot more about her book, the third book in her Wrong Catch series. Is called "She'll Tear Down the House." Make sure you definitely catch the beginning of this so you can get the full scope of this book. But you can definitely go to the description box, and right there next to the dollar sign, you'll be able to see that Linktree link as well as the Amazon link. And once you click on those, then you'll be able to read the book summary, or you can simply just look down below and you see you can also purchase it on Amazon.com. I really like the fact that you mentioned that someone gave your first book to somebody else, and that allowed them to see their own life
Yeah.
within the book. So I feel like I just would like our viewers to know that, maybe you say, okay, well, this book, maybe isn't for me because, hey, that's none of these, insects or animals or fish are, descriptors of my life. But who do you know? Maybe this is somebody that, you've been trying to reach them
Yep.
or really just help them to just wake up. A book is definitely a great way to start, just because when it's just you in a book, all you have to do is wrestle with your own thoughts, and you start saying to yourself, shoot, is that me? And you be like, nah, that ain't me. And then you keep reading, you be like, oh, maybe it is me. So definitely you don't have to wait for Christmas. We know that's in, months on out, but you don't have to wait until Christmas to gift somebody a book. And make sure you go to that Amazon.com or Linktree. So what has the feedback been for the Wrong Catch series, Dr. Velma? First, I would like to hear what your daughters think, and then I would like to hear, what the other general public has said.
My daughters loved it. My daughters love it. But I mean, again, I started with one book and I thought that was going to be all.
Hmm.
And the readers would not let me stop with that one book. Every interviewer said they met many of the fish characters in that very first book. So that
Hmm.
began the journey of where I was headed. And then hearing from the male readers who were reading the first and second book, which tells you that the book is for both male and female.
Mhm.
They wanted to know, okay, so when are you going to address? Because, you know, talking to women for over 30 years, my husband,
Yeah.
same thing. We'll both be 70 this year. And
Come
yes,
on now. You don't even look it. Dr.
girl,
Sylvia.
yes. So somebody coming up to me who's been on the earth for 25, 30 years with a certification as a coach, you can't tell me anything. I can tell you. I can
Yeah.
sit and listen to you talk and can tell you where you're coming from. That's what
Mhm.
being seasoned does for you. You can pick
Yeah.
up on, I've met a person like you before. And so that's
Mhm.
what's important. 30 plus years hearing the same stories, watching the same mistakes, sitting in pre-marriage counseling with my husband and listening to these stories. And you're like sitting there going, we can't fix that. You guys are
Mhm.
wrong for each other. What are you trying to
Mhm.
do? And so those are the things that I felt burdened about. How do I address it? I can't talk to everybody. I can't
Mhm.
call everybody. There's not enough time on the calendar
Yeah.
to have a conversation with everyone. So the best way I could figure out to do it was to weave these stories and get it out there.
Mhm. Mhm. So, what have you actually learned about yourself through your author journey, Dr. Velma?
I think I've learned that when I retired, I thought that was it. I wanted to sell into the sunset.
Mhm.
I was not looking to pick up a new assignment.
Yeah.
And I realized that, but I'm the type of person that's perfect for the assignment because I've already been there, have some wisdom I can share. How to prepare before you walk down the aisle is most important to me because there's work that we need to do on ourselves before he comes into your life because you want to be the best version of yourself when he arrives
Mhm.
and all of that. And so all of that is built into what I'm doing. And so I really love and cherish what I'm able to share with others.
That's excellent. Did you know that you was this creative though, like in storytelling?
Yes, I was. I used to work with our youth at our church, and I used to create skits and programs for them. We used to put on a
Mm.
big Black History skit every year. It was packed on the church. People came. I used to have a Sunday school class of primary boys, and I always created the stories around something that was live and interactive for them. So I had them dress up as the disciples when we did the Last Supper. That I
Yeah.
was always that kind of person, and I just didn't realize that this is what I did too. So I
Mhm.
love being creative.
That's excellent. I'm just really glad um that you did move towards books,
Hmm.
because I think books are so special because, you do find yourself in, different characters. And I really like the fact that you can read books at your own pace. And you
Uh-huh.
do have to sometimes wrestle with the people that you begin to meet in these books. And it
Hmm.
really just, it either makes you a better person or you stand still or you become a worse person, from
Yep.
reading the book.
Yep.
So
Or
I go ahead.
or
What
it
were you about to
delayed your goal, the
say?
goal that you
Mhm.
might have for yourself or the wish you might have for yourself. It delays it because you
Right.
don't take advantage of what you've been presented.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
And another great thing about books, you can definitely pass it on to somebody else now. With me with a book, I'm like, are you gonna give it back? you
With
know?
all your markups and everything.
Yeah, like can you just buy your own, please?
Oh,
But
that's so sweet.
I really like the fact that with a book you can, just share that knowledge with somebody else and encourage them,
Wow.
to read it. Myra said I suggested the book to several young women I worked with. Thank you, Myra.
That's so sweet.
Um, but Dr. Velma, I just definitely appreciate you for being on the show and really just sharing your knowledge on um, the type of women and men that you've been meeting, the type of
Yes.
men and women that we can become.
Hmm.
So I definitely hope that you all take advantage of um, to first just read the book summaries that's on Amazon.com, or
Hmm.
like I said, you can go to Linktree.com. But those two links are listed in that description box. Make sure that you go ahead and share this video now so that more people will know about Dr. Velma as well as her books. And make sure that you I'm telling you, Dr. Velma is not playing, y'all. She gave us some nuggets with her workbook. She told us, "Hey, I got some other things in the works, but I can't tell you." I hate when people do that. Like, I do because I be like, just tell us.
Okay, I got some card games coming.
See, I tell you, it's not hard to twist your arm, Dr. Velma. I tell you that.
I got some card games coming because you can hang out with your friends and play. Let's match some fools and see how you can
Got some
find out
fools.
about them and learn about them and how to avoid them. And I
That's
also have
good.
some other things. I have some book club kits coming. They're thankful for the person that's been working with me on it. Miss Queenie Clem is helping me design them, and it's almost ready. So they're
Excellent.
coming
Excellent.
soon.
Excellent. So, you all, that was my segue in telling you guys to make sure you go ahead and go to Dr. Velma's website or Linktree, so you can definitely stay in the loop with everything that she's doing. Again, those links are listed in that description box. We definitely thank you all for tuning in to Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. If you are interested in being on the show and you are an author, make sure you go ahead and visit that website that's below your screen right there, and you can definitely be on the show. But we definitely hope that you guys have a great remainder of the night. I am in cold Indiana. I hope you all stay nice and warm. That's up north and in the Midwest, because we are not liking it. But we hope
It's a
that you
cold
all
50. It's a cold 50 on the West Coast.
50. Dr. Velma, we're going to talk to you later. All right. You all have a great remainder of the night, you all. Bye bye.
Thank you.